You know, listen, I know this stuff is dry. I do number stuff on this show all the time that I know is sometimes hard to follow, and I don't mean to bore people.
It's very hard to follow,
But the problem I have, and actually, Vince, it's not just Schenectady. It's a lot of cities, towns, and villages. You know, I'm tired of reading that in January and February about how the earth is caving in on them, and then come the end of the year when all of a sudden it's election time, hey, we're doing fantastic. This is going on all the time.
It happens a lot and too much. And again, as being on the city council, no, I'm about a year and a half into my term. We don't, and I say it again, we do not get enough information presented to us when we make decisions, and it drives you up a wall.
Right.
I'm learning from this experience now. When budget time comes next October, I'm going to ask for the justification for these transfers from the water and sewer fund. Oh, that's on the top of my list. I want to see the documentation. They have to prove to me what support services the city is providing for this kind of money.
Am I, you know, I say it kiddingly, but I don't mean it kiddingly here. I'm okay when I term this fuzzy math, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh, that's what it is. You got to turn the fog lights on.
Finance director, this is the first time she's had to justify something, and she doesn't really have good answers.
And I don't think she does, and I don't think she's going to be able to come up with it, because I don't think it exists. That's my opinion.
But somebody involved in this entire process had to be the contact person or the one that made a call to the water and sewer department and said,
let's have that money.
We need $4 million.
I agree. I agree. Who it is, I can't tell you. But yes, somebody had to pull the trigger on that and say, we need the money, and we're taking it.
Talk to me about the property taxes, the revenue from property taxes that the city saw this year, because Gary went after them. To his credit, as you said, I give him all credit. But that's almost like a one-shot, right?
It's a one-shot deal, and these one-shot infusions, they're good. That $2.6 million loan payback from the water and sewer into the general fund, that's good. But we put that together, that's like, we'll round it off at $6 million. That's not going to happen again. Again, the concern should be, and in all fairness, Cusack said it, Ms. DeGenova said it, our finance commissioner, we have to try to do this 2 or 3 years running.
Right.
How we're going to do this in 13, you know, when we get to the end of 13 and that audit is done next year, that's going to be a good one, because there was one-shot infusions that were plugged in.
Yeah, because I don't see where your expenses are going to go down at all in the next 2 years.
As a matter of fact, the police budget actually rose over $1 million from the previous year, even though they came in under. It rose. And now this year for 13, there's $16 million written into the budget for 2013. That's a couple $100,000 less than they actually spent in 12. So how can we come in under budget on that? I don't think so.
You mean they raised the budget ceiling this calendar year $1 million?
Yes, yes. Well,
and they still went over that?
Yes, and they went over that. And that was for 12. For 12, it went over that.
God.
Yes, it was raised.
None of this sounds good.
No, it doesn't. It's very expensive. I mean, public safety is so expensive, and it doesn't stop.
Tell me about the water and sewer fund, though. The money that came out of there. What's that do to them immediately? Do they have enough funds to work with?
I don't. Well, actually, they don't, because that's for infrastructure use. And our infrastructure in the city is ancient.
Bad.
It's ancient. You know, we have an old city, and a lot of this infrastructure is wearing away on us.
Let me hold you there. I want to pick up on that. We'll do that when we come back. We're talking to Vince Riggi. One more segment with him. Then Steve Spardella. You're watching us on I-4. Stay with us. We're back with Vince Riggi. Okay, a couple more minutes, then we'll talk to Steve Spardella. The infrastructure in the city is a disaster,
yes,
right?
Yes, it is, yes. And the water and sewer fund should be self-sufficient enough to take care of these problems as they come. But unfortunately, when we went to bond sale, earlier this month, included was almost $7 million for water and sewer projects is included in that. So we're borrowing money at a good rate. A bond anticipation note is different than a bond. It's like 0.75%, which is very good, and I have to say that. And luckily, the money market is doing well now, so that's good. But we have to borrow money to do that. We shouldn't have to do that. That shouldn't have happened. That, if we weren't rating these funds, that money should be in the fund.
No question. No question about it. And there's no. And there's really, is there any infrastructure work being done in Schenectady?
Very little, only when absolutely necessary.
Because
it happens.
You're right. I mean, Troy has got the same problem, especially underground with water. Some of this stuff is wood.
Yes, and I believe we still may have a few wood sewer lines in the city. I believe.
Yeah,
to the best of my knowledge.
And something really does need to be done.
Oh, sure it does.
You know, one of the things that Gary got my attention with here last week was, You know, if I don't want to use the word nonchalant because I'm not, you know, I'm not trying to get after him.
Yeah.
One thing about Gary, as we talked about
He's
before,
upfront.
he shows up.
Yep.
You know, he answers questions.
Yes, he is. We get
you
along
know?
very well together.
And he's
Gary
got a
and
good
I.
sense of humor.
Yeah.
You know, everybody thinks he's really dry. He's okay.
No,
I'm okay
yes,
with
he
him.
does. Yes, he does.
But when I asked him about the long-term debt, the Foster Avenue debt, and all that, he was kind of nonchalant about it.
Well, the other thing was...
Isn't this a bit of a problem? in the city?
Yes, it is, because, well, Gary was on the city council that okayed that.
I know.
So that's one of the reasons. The other reason was, actually, it wasn't, in between the next 2 years, next year, we're supposed to bond $20 million, or go to bond sale, not banned, so that's not going to be 0.75%. The year after, that's the $5 million to remediate that land around there.
Got it.
So that's going to come up. So that total project was about $26 million, totally. And when we go to bond sale, we'll keep our fingers crossed that we'll get a good rate. Now, I think Gary on the show brought up that we can ask for an extension on the bond, I believe, on your show.
Yeah, you started talking about extending it.
And I got to tell you, if that is the case, maybe we should do that if we can get a rate at 0.75% and hold it off another year. I know it's kicking the can down the road, but right now we have to kick that can as far as we can because there's not a lot of money coming in.
I just, you know, when I talked to Gary the other day, and then I read the story about where the city allegedly is right now, I came away with this idea that again, Moody's downgraded you 2 notches last fall. Here is the comptroller coming in and saying, you guys are in serious, serious trouble. But it sounds like everything is in great shape in Schenectady now.
Well, it was like the emperor's new clothes.
Is there a reason to go to the comptroller with any of these numbers? Or?
That's a good thought, and maybe there is. You know, I've thought about that, and just to, especially like some of the transfers, the way some of this financing is being done.
Who approves the budget over there? Is there an outside source that says this is okay?
Well, we're supposedly, this audit that was done, the council's supposed to approve this Monday night. Cusack and
Okay,
company.
where were they?
He was in the audience, but last year, my first year on the council, when he was doing the one for the preview for 2011, he was sitting at the table. It was his audit. He was going over it. He didn't sit at the table. Our new finance director did. That kind of had me confused. Why Mr. Cusack wasn't presenting this to us?
Yeah, I mean, why? Because he's the guy he asked the question to about the transference.
Yeah. And he just sat there. He sat there with the audience. That's where he sat.
I know there were a couple of things you were concerned about.
Yes, I am. Here, right? Well, we're going to borrow $3 million from HUD to do demos of houses, which we need a lot of demolition of houses in Schenectady. There's a lot of bad houses. And when it was first presented to us for demo of houses, now it's changing somewhat. The mayor wants to add 1.3 million of that 3 million. Almost a half of it will go to remediate lead and asbestos from the old DSS building on Knott Street. It was an old school from 1908.
Okay.
And it needs a lot of work. Gillespie now either holds an option or owns that property. Then they're a private developer.
Okay.
They're going to put low to moderate income apartments in here, 14 apartments in here.
Okay, I heard about this.
Okay, my problem with it is, wait a minute, why should we use city taxpayer money and loan money to remediate property that somebody owns, that somebody else owns? I have a problem. I have a big problem with that. But this is tied in. It's almost like a Washington thing. If we want to demo those houses, then this is plugged in. This is going to be on the loan application.
Okay.
I am not happy about this at all. Not at all.
Have you spoken to Gary about it?
Yes, I have. When he called me to run it by me Thursday, I told him my concerns, and I said it again Monday night.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the press was out in the hall with the auditors, and they didn't pick up on that at all. But I'm going to have something to say about it Monday night.
Well, you know, first of all, it seems like Gary's calling you a lot. Is he going to reach
Only
out?
when he doesn't call me a lot. When he has to, he wanted to run this loan application because Monday night he was in and out of the committee meetings.
Okay, was this part of the agreement up front with Gillespie that the city would loan him this money?
Not that I know of, but it may have been. It may have been, but not to my knowledge.
But it wasn't on paper?
No.
Nobody spoke with you about it before?
No, but I did hear Gillespie, when he found out the work that was going to need, he kind of backed out of that project he was going to do. So it's sitting. Right now that building is sitting.
Environmental concerns and things of that nature?
Yes, because of the lead and asbestos in that building.
Okay, a lot of that. All right, what else? What else is going on over here now that, wow. Because you're right, it's an election year.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of this budget, I think.
The issues stay the same, Paul, and now with the nice weather, we'll get the quality life issues will kick in. But these financial issues, I think all anybody wants and the public should want is just tell us the truth what it is.
How's your police chief doing?
He seems to be doing well.
All right.
Brian Kilcullen is doing
Quiet.
well. Yes.
All right. How
yes.
about this hoteling? This guy.
I don't know anything at all about that.
He's a detective.
Yeah.
He got involved in a road rage. He pulled a gun. 30 days, he's back to work.
He's back to work.
I guess you can't stop that.
No, that's going to be a union problem now, and I really, honestly, I'm not familiar with that at all to really even to speak on that. So I don't know.
They speak with you.
There was a thing with the fireman that was laid off, was fired. I can't remember his name. That was off on long-term
the guy that was on
disability.
the sickness.
Yeah,
the guy never came to work.
He never came to work.
Yeah, you know, that's interesting to me because they had unlimited sick time.
Yes, they do. But you know what's more interesting, again, from the newspaper is he was hurt off the job, yet he's able to collect full pay on off-the-job disability. Yeah. That's a pretty nice deal. I didn't realize that.
There was a guy, I think it was in Albany years ago, who went on permanent disability. He dropped his comb, and he bent over to pick it up and hurt his back. Yeah, I mean, these stories. But you know, I got some emails from people in Florida over the weekend, and you know, I'm reading about one cop down in Florida. I think it was Venice, Florida. 45 years old. He retired after 20 years, $85,000 a year. It's not just here. But I'll also tell you this. You know, we keep hearing about these retirement funds and all the money the city's got to come up with, like yours. We just had that big story about the control of the retirement fund going up. Was it $10 billion?
Yeah.
A huge number.
Yes.
At the same time, cities like Schenectady keep standing there every year and telling me, we don't have the money, we don't have the money.
Yeah.
And here we are at the end of the year, they're telling me they're $3.7 million ahead.
Yeah.
You know, which one is...
And the other thing is, it's hard. There's other union contracts coming up now, CSEA and the other contract.
You got to deal with that.
How do we deal? We got a surplus of money now, so Gary wants to hold the line, which I understand that, but what do you do? What do you do? In police and fire, they have binding arbitration, so that's a big difference. Big difference in the contract.
Are the pools going to be open?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So the summer looks like it's in place.
Yes.
How about these foreclosed on properties? Is there still more money to be had?
I think there's going to be another run on that, but again, you said you're going to have a guest on talking about there's not enough housing in the capital. Well, there is in Schenectady. Yeah. There's plenty of housing.
Well, he told me that.
Yeah.
I asked him about this on the radio the other day. I said, what about Schenectady? Oh, there's a lot of houses there.
A lot of housing, but our assessment roll is dropping like a rock, and people better know that. It's dropping like a rock, and that's not good.
All right, good to see you.
You too.
Thank you very much. Vince Riggi, everybody. Steve Spardella. When we come back, you're watching us on I-4. Stay with us.